This is the Padua Podcast Network.
Tom Brady has a team of neuroscientists. He noticed this in a popular science article. He read about it and decided to give it a try, because what's the harm, right? Running a Fever, episode 174. Tom Brady starts his 20th year. Welcome to Running a Fever. I'm so glad you're listening today. I really appreciate you being out there and listening to the podcast. If it's your first time, be sure and subscribe. You can go to YouTube and subscribe. runningafever.com/YouTube. Today we're going to talk a little bit about Tom Brady starting his 20th year of professional football and why he's able to do that, how he's able to have this long career. If you love your life enough to make it last as long as possible, whether you're playing professional football or working in an office, then you're in the right place, because that's what we're all about here. I want to live a long, healthy, happy, active life right up to the very end. I not only want to add life to my years to my life, but I want to add life to my years. So Running a Fever is a podcast about fitness, diet, and medicine, not necessarily in that order. And today we're talking about Tom Brady. Tom Brady, it's amazing how long, the Super Bowl was 4 months ago. 4 months. And last week, Tom Brady started practicing for the upcoming season, his 20th. Now, we have international exhibition games, usually in July these days. And then by August, you're already in the full swing of preseason games here in the United States. And of course, since these games are not counting towards the final score in terms of games won and lost, and who has home field advantage in the playoffs, who gets to the playoffs, who gets to the Super Bowl, the stakes are not as high. And the concern, of course, is for key players that they might get injured. So you're not likely to see as much of the key players like Tom Brady showing up and playing for a full 60 minutes in a preseason game. But nonetheless, he's already started practice as of last week. And the big story is it's his 20th season with the New England Patriots, only team that he's ever played for in the professional world. Surprising to me was that this isn't really completely unheard of. I mean, there are a number of players who have exceeded 20 years. Howdy. Hey there. 20 years with, not just in as a career, but with the same team. So he's not in necessarily rare category, depending on how you look at rare. I think the average career is something like 3 or 4 years. So yeah, but he's not average, and he is a quarterback. But he is, for a quarterback, he's doing pretty well in terms of number of games played. He is 26th on the all-time list, and behind only 2 other active players. One of these being his former teammate on the Patriots, Adam Vinatieri. Adam Vinatieri, a kicker. And in fact, both of the active guys ahead of him are kickers, and that those guys have longer careers on average than quarterbacks. In fact, there are only a few non-kickers in that top 25, and he's definitely the winner among active quarterbacks. there were a couple that were both quarterbacks and kickers. I think the guy who had that, the all-time record of something like 26 years was actually a backup quarterback during the last years of his career. Something that's not likely to happen, I would think, for Tom Brady, unless he's just, he's 41, and last year he won the Super Bowl. So he shows no signs of fading. And another thing is, last year they did introduce a new rule about roughing the passer that could benefit him, in that if you're a pass rusher, a defender who lands on a quarterback, that is a penalty. Of course, we've talked about the greatness of Tom Brady in terms of historical, and he holds 47 records currently, including, I think he may be tied for the most Super Bowl appearances of any player. Certainly holds the record for his position in that regard. So why do we care, other than the fact that I'm a nominal fan of the New England Patriots and Tom Brady? This is a podcast about fitness, and longevity is one of our key themes and topics here. Longevity of life, but his ability to play at a professional level for a long period of time makes us want to look at how he does it and how he maintains that fitness, as we did with the super centenarians about long life in general. So there we were concerned about long life and quality of life, of course, but with Brady, we want to talk about how he stays fit and healthy enough to play at an exceptional level. After all, he's not just a durable player, but he's also an exceptional one, continuing to set records and lead his team to championships year after year, even into his 40s. So we've already looked at several aspects of Tom Brady's fitness and diet program, known as the TB12 method, and I'll have a link to an affiliate link for that book if you want to take a look at that and help the show. I'll also have a link to the YouTube playlist, which includes those episodes 120, 121, 122, 129, and 138 are the episodes if you want to look at those podcast episodes in your podcast app. But because I've visited this in several episodes, I also do have a YouTube playlist, which you might want to check out as well. But in this episode, we're not just looking at the same aspects. We want to look at how he does this at a professional level, and another aspect that I had not known about before, and that I have just learned about here. So what is this new aspect that we're talking about? Well, I read an article about sports science and what sports science says about Tom Brady's ability, not just now, but to continue in the future. He's already stated that he wants to play until he's 45 at least. Could he play until he's 50? Is that possible? Well, of course, the caveat is he's Tom Brady. There hasn't been anyone like him ever, so it is possible. But of course, most people say it's not likely. He has been able to remain remarkably injury-free over his career, which is amazing. He has been on the injured list over 200 times, but has never missed a game other than the pretty serious knee injury that he had that kept him out for a whole season, basically. So this article said that few athletes, and I'm quoting here, few athletes are as dedicated to the body and mind as Brady is, which is why he's been able to perform at such a high level for nearly 2 decades. This was written several years ago. So what kind of grabbed my attention, was the mention of mind. This is something that I hadn't really considered before, or gave it minimal attention anyway in the earlier episodes about the TB12 method. So I looked a little further into this and some of the sources for this information. His mental fitness plan includes some brain exercises that are designed to help people with brain problems, such as recovering from an injury, recovering from surgery, attention deficit disorder, people who have deficits in their brain function as opposed to people who want to enhance their brain function. However, he noticed this in a popular science article. He read about it and decided to give it a try, because what's the harm, right? And he found that they improved his cognitive functions. So there are several companies that have brain training programs, and you've probably seen advertisements for them. I think Luminosity is one, and one specifically mentioned here is Brain HQ, which apparently Tom Brady did approach, and I guess in his business, Tom Brady has a number of a team of neuroscientists, so they were all kind of involved in this effort. The idea that these exercises can have a positive impact on brain function is rather controversial. In fact, in 2014, there were 2 letters issued, one from each side of the argument. They both had about the same number of scientists, 75 to 100. I don't think the number of scientists on each side is particularly important, but the fact that they all participated in these published letters strongly believing one way or the other was interesting. So it is controversial, but most new ideas are. So a more recent popular science article told a story that I read about a man who'd had multiple concussions, in a short period of time due to head trauma, probably having to do with his work. I think he worked in a warehouse and had been hit with some rather heavy things that he was working with, which is really a shame because it sounds like that would be avoidable. After training with these brain exercises, this person was able to return to work and to school, overcoming symptoms like depression, chronic fatigue, confusion, and splitting headaches. Apparently he was, at one point, kind of had a lot of difficulty processing what people were saying to him, thus the confusion. Anecdotal, of course, single person. Howdy.
How's it going?
Good. But research continues. Scientists have recently discovered, it's kind of a relatively new idea, that our brains are not just kind of static pieces of equipment in our heads that, never change, but they can change over time depending on what we do with them. And this is called neuroplasticity, and it continues through the lifetime. So, that evidence before might have been anecdotal. However, the largest study on neural training was funded by one of my favorite government agencies, if there can be such a thing, National Institutes of Health. And the most important result from this study was a reported 29% decrease in risk of dementia. This is huge, people. This is huge. This is an enormous problem and really contributes to your longevity or the lack thereof, dementia, and the quality of life. So this is something I definitely want to look into, right? This was after 10 years of participation. I don't know if the study's still going on. I probably want to have maybe an entire episode on this particular study. But if you want to live a long, healthy, active life up to the very end, then definitely prevention or reducing your risk of dementia is going to be really important to that. Now, Tom Brady is ahead of the curve on this. Of course, he's ahead of the curve in a lot of areas, but I mean, his workout program, his diet is very different. It's not something you'll find anywhere else. But I don't think you can attribute his longevity and his performance to just luck or hard work. Definitely hard work is involved, but he's taken some serious mental effort and resources into this. And it brings to mind LeBron James, I know, who's done something, similar, maybe not as revolutionary, but he definitely is invested in his longevity as a professional athlete. Something I might want to look at, though I'm not at all a fan. Not at all a fan of him, but if I can learn something from him, that's great. So, Brady hasn't gotten to where he is today by sticking to the status quo of fitness. How y'all doing? Whether mental or physical. His methods are unusual, his success is unusual, but it's something I want to emulate. I look forward to learning more about the brain and brain exercises and how I can use them to improve my mental and physical life and longevity. Got a bunch of references in the show notes, a bunch of links that you can read, and I recommend you check them out. And I'm pretty sure, the brain is an area that I'm very interested in, and I've already had a number of episodes, the Brain Chemical series, and I want to talk about this neuroplasticity and exercises we can do. So stay tuned, there will be more on this topic, and I really hope you've enjoyed it. I'm going to share what I learn always with you. So if you have enjoyed it, then you got the fever. And if you don't have the fever, you need to catch it. Catch the fever. runningfever.com. I will talk to you next time on Running a Fever.